Hello, and welcome back. I hope y'all had a great weekend, okay? Today is Monday, and I smell deposition. Deposition, yeah, that's right. Blake Lively apparently is being deposed today by Brian Friedman. Let's see what happens there. And today is also a big day because today we get the amended complaint for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. They still have 4 claims that they are allowed to amend from the Wayfarer parties, and that's supposed to be coming out as well today. Still waiting. It's still not there, but there are a lot of other juicy things to talk about. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Grab your emotional support lip gloss because we are going in. You're in frame with Mandy Magnan. Just quickly, it is hotter than the hottest thing I could think about right now. Does it look like your girl got some sun? Au naturel today, I'm wearing a little bit of eyeshadow, but other than that, glowing. And the sun and I, we have a real love-hate relationship because I love the sun. And the sun loves to burn me. I mean, I can go out on a regular summer day and get like sunburnt within an hour. So things like this is not really good for me, but I love it. But today it's like hot. The last 2 days, this is the hottest I've ever felt while being in Toronto. It's wild. And I'm going to save that rest of the story for a little bit later, okay? Because what a day I have had. But today the lip gloss I am wearing is a super cute gloss. It's called Maybelline Lifter Gloss. And this is shade 002. And it's called Ice. Maybe I should have checked that before I put this lip gloss on. But anyway, I love this. It's just a sheer with a little hint of pink. And it's like super glossy, which I absolutely love. Right off the bat, I just want to talk a little bit about Love Island. Y'all, I'm going to be talking about this, okay? Because I'm in it. I'm hooked, okay? Love Island last night, America voted for their worst 3 Islanders that they wanted to get kicked off. And then the Islanders, the boys and the girls, had to vote for the one person that they want to leave. So the girls voted for the girl they wanted to leave, and then the guys voted for the guy they wanted to leave. Jeremiah and Hannah were the 2 people I thought for sure were safe. I jaw on the floor, okay? But also I thought it kind of made sense because they are their biggest competition. I mean, Hannah is with the new bombshell as well as with Pepe. And Jeremiah just finished, love bombing Huda and is now doing the same thing with the new bombshell that every guy wants to be with. So strategically, I think they did it a little bit out of jealousy, a little bit out of bitterness, and I couldn't believe it. And like Hannah's response was valid. Okay, bawling. Oh, I felt for that girl because I thought she was going to be in it probably till the end. But I can see why the girls do feel super threatened from her. And yeah, anyway, let's see what happens tonight. Now let's get right into the spiciness of It Ends With Us, okay? The rest of the video is going to be about that, okay? Let's talk about it. Let's just talk about what happened over the weekend. I was tagged in it so many times. I was sent it so many times. I was asked my opinion on it so many times. And I don't think y'all are really going to like what I have to say. I took the weekend with it. I was going to do like a little weekend update kind of thing, like a little special when this video dropped and when all of this news started coming out. But then I like marinated on it and thought about it a lot. And I kind of, not that I disagree with everyone, but I think that I have a different viewpoint from then what was all over all of the headlines and what everyone started running with. So let's just look at what I am talking about. If you guessed the NPR interview with Twohey from the New York Times, who was the reporter who wrote up that wild New York Times story with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, the one that kicked this thing all off, we can bury anyone inside a Hollywood smear machine. That's what I'm going to be talking about, okay? Because Perez Hilton went back, watched this interview, and found something very interesting. I think it's very interesting too. However, maybe I'm just going to play devil's advocate a little bit, but I am going to spin it around with some personal experience. But basically, this is an 8-minute interview. There's also an audio, so it's for real. And what she says is a little bit damning to Blake Lively, kind of. I will say that Megan Twohey has this whole story. I mean, she either is brainwashed or is ignoring facts at this point, or at that point in December when she was talking to Blake Lively. But it doesn't make sense. When you really pin it together, she explains that, yeah, Blake complained about sexual harassment on set at the time of filming. And then at that time, they put in, an intimacy coordinator. They got a new producer hired. They said that they wouldn't come back on her for, expressing her sexual harassment, whatever, they wouldn't come back. And then during the timing of the film release, Jamie Heath and Justin Baldoni got so worried that Blake was going to go to the press about these sexual harassment allegations that they hired Melissa Nathan and put in a plan to smear Blake before she can do that. That doesn't make sense, because if they didn't smear her before, if they kept her on the movie, if they worked with her the entire time, if they went through all of editing and all of post, if they did all of this stuff, why, when the movie was coming out, would they ever want to taint her or smear her? Especially because she didn't say one thing one time about no sexual harassment, no DV, no violation, no nothing. It was all Blake, hair, Betty Boos, hair care, Betty Boos, look at me, look at me, look at me. Okay? However, the one paragraph that everyone is kind of, it got everyone up in arms this weekend, and we're going to go over it because it is a little bit juicy, but when you break it down or when you look at it, I feel like a woman's perspective who has been violated maybe multiple times, harassed multiple times, to me, it just paints a little bit of a different picture. I also believe that Megan Twohey here is lying, or I believe it. I'll have to pull up the record again, but when she says that she reached out to everyone that was named in Blake Lively's CRD complaint, I mean, she named a lot of people, including tons of content creators, and they were never reached out. Like, nobody ever reached out to them before their names went into the New York Times saying that they were part of a smear campaign. And also she said that the parties did not, they have denied, what does it say? And they haven't spoken to the underlying allegations of misconduct that she made during the shooting of the film, but they have denied that they engaged in any sort of retaliation smear campaign. And they have actually said that they were just responding to negative information. But I believe in their response, they 100% strongly say, we didn't do nothing. Like, this is bananas. So that's kind of weird that she would frame that. And then just before we get into the part that, everyone was going on about, I just think that also Megan Twohey really just has a thing out to take down men. I mean, she was also the one that did the Me Too movement, and she even brings that up here when I just don't think that she liked them either. It's interesting, these, super pro-feminists, the way they treat actual good men. They always think that there's something underneath of it and it's not genuine, and no men can support women, which is weird because isn't that what we want, is equality and to be supported from the men in our lives. But she says here, it's important to know that Justin Baldoni and to some extent his, the producer of the film, the lead producer, Jamie Heath, have in recent years kind of gone to great lengths to present themselves as allies to the women in the Me Too, #MeToo era. Blech. This is the part that came out this weekend again. Perez Hilton looked back, he reported it, and then everyone was on it. And it just says this, and then we'll talk about why this is kind of interesting and also like disinteresting at the same time, maybe. Yes, that's exactly right, she told me. Like, listen, this was actually not the worst that I have experienced in Hollywood. I've actually experienced far worse misconduct. I spoke up because I wanted to address it, and I thought that I had, and I never had any intentions of discussing this or going public with my accusations. And so to watch what happened next and to experience what she now is alleging was this complete campaign of retaliation felt in many ways much more sinister than the underlying misconduct. Now, what I got from a lot of people's videos over the weekend, and it was kind of like everywhere, was that she's saying that, oh, it wasn't that bad, and she's experienced worse, and this was nothing, and therefore that proves that her case is bogus. And I know a lot of y'all are not going to like what I'm about to say. I already know, okay? But don't come at me, okay? This is just my opinion based on my life, okay? That doesn't mean that what she is claiming that she experienced didn't happen. She even says that she reported it at the time and she had that she wasn't going to go public, right? She says that she experienced at the time. Just because something has happened to you that was far worse, it doesn't negate the experience that you're having now. Now, am I saying that I think Blake Lively was repeatedly sexually harassed? No. Do I think we're all here because of the smear campaign, which clearly she cares more about? She's really trying to prove the smear campaign versus prove the sexual harassment, which I can't wrap my head around as someone who's been violated many times. However, it doesn't mean that because she experienced something worse and this wasn't that bad, is it okay? If it happened, that's what I'm saying, okay? So I'm not saying that it did happen. I'm just saying in her eyes for her claim, right? It doesn't matter. And why I'm saying that is because I worked in a toxic workplace environment for many years, and I did it for the money because the money was so good, but it was awful. There was a group of men, but one man in particular who was very harassing towards me, would scream at me, would have these freakouts, would say creepy things to me, and I reported him many times. Text message, emails, meetings. He stole from me. He defaced my property. It was crazy, unhinged behavior. All the way up until when he was seen taking pictures of me in a private workspace. Obviously, without my consent or knowledge, I didn't know that it even happened until I was told that they saw him do that. They reported it and da-da-da-da-da. So then I reported it. I filed a toxic workplace harassment thing. Can't really get involved into too many details, but I went all the way. I thought for sure if it was seen on the security cameras, after I have reported this man so many times, okay, that this would be the final straw and there would be a reprimand and that he would either be suspended or terminated or not be able to work the shift with me, something, right? Because what's next? What's next at this point, right? It was an escalation of my rights and a violation to me. So when the company came back, even though they saw it on camera, he said sorry, okay? But they attacked me. They insulted me. They belittled me. They basically said it was my fault. I'm crazy. Big deal. It happened. Get over it. I'm paraphrasing, but basically in the meetings, that's what happened. And then I went kind of all the way with my claim because I would never go back into a situation that a man was able to do that to me at work, right? Like, what is next? How do I know this is the first time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I remember when I was going through therapy, and even when I talked to my friends, and I would tell them, it's not the act itself that was so bad. Like, it's not the fact that he was caught taking pictures of me that was like so bad. I've been through worse, much worse. Childhood trauma, you feel me? I was essayed in college in a dorm. I've been stalked. I've been followed. Bad things. And I'm not saying this to get like pity or people, I'm so sorry that happened to you. It is what it is. It happens to more women than most people know. But I even said that. It's not what happened to me that was so bad. It's how it was handled and how the company reacted and how they pushed me out and blamed me and insulted me. But it wasn't that act. It's not like I hadn't been through worse. Have I not been like held down and forced to do things? Have I not? Yeah, I've been through worse, but that doesn't make that isn't still not okay. Do you feel me? So when Blake says like, she told me, like, listen, this was actually not the worst that I have experienced in Hollywood. I've actually experienced far more worse misconduct. That still doesn't make the misconduct that she experienced, if any, okay. If it was as severe and disturbing as Blake claims, which now we know it isn't. It wasn't, because so many things have already been disproven, like the dance montage, like the biting on the lip, like the birthing scene, all have been disproven already. However, in her mind, right? So for people to be like, oh, she's saying it wasn't that bad, that means that da-da-da-da. No, it just means that women go through so much stuff. And just because this wasn't as bad, we don't know what Blake has been through in the past. And I know a lot of people think that maybe she's unscathed and this, and I do too, because she's not able to talk about anything. Who knows what she's been through being in Hollywood since a child? We know about all of these things that child stars have gone through. So for her to just say, like, oh, it's not that bad, like, I'm just not taking it the way I guess most people ran with it. However, I will say this. It doesn't look good that she was, like, talking to Megan Twohey, and Megan Twohey just wasn't handed the CRD complaint to make a report about. That's going to be interesting, because Megan Twohey is on the witness list that the Wayfair people are going to depose. So there's definitely going to be some questions about this conversation and what was said. It's also not good for Ryan Reynolds. I mean, unfortunately, his case has been dismissed, the defamation part of it. But if this, I don't know, it just seems like for Blake to say, like, oh, it's not that bad, but then Ryan Reynolds is going around calling him a sexual predator and getting him fired and terminated and all this stuff, it just really makes me think about a lot of things. But I'm not taking it in the way that, like, I guess I saw a lot of people take it, you know? However, to prove harassment, especially sexual harassment, it has to be subjective and objective, and it has to be severe and perverse enough. So we'll see. But I'm just saying, yes, I read it, and I didn't think, I don't know. That's all I gotta say about it, okay? And maybe I'm playing devil's advocate because I've been on the side where Blake was, but I was telling the truth. This things actually happened to me. I wasn't lying about nothing, and I had evidence and evidence and evidence and evidence, emails, phone calls, text messages, I mean, meeting recordings. So I don't know. Just because it wasn't the worst that she ever suffered doesn't mean in her mind that it still happened. But now we know that it's basically only the retaliation campaign. What this actually tells me is that she only cares about the retaliation campaign and her reputation more than the sexual harassment and misconduct on set, which doesn't look good for her new rebranding and being like a girl's girl and supporting women and defending all women and being a voice for victims and survivors everywhere, because she was willing to not say anything about misconduct that was happening to her. And if it's happening to her, then most likely it's happening to all girls and all women around these people. I'm not just saying Wayfair, I'm speaking like in general as a girl's girl or an advocate, to not step up when you see something or you experience something and to say something because, you know, you're still Gucci and your reputation's fine. For her to have only have said something because her reputation was sinking speaks volumes to the kind of advocate for women Blake Lively is, in my opinion. Now let's get into the court dockets. Okay, that was a ramble. Anyway, I hope everyone understands kind of where I'm coming from. And I know a lot of people are going to come for me for even saying that because it sounds like I'm defending Blake, and I'm not. I'm just looking at it from another perspective. But yeah, for her to go all of this way with the lawsuits of sexual harassment and claim all this stuff against Wayfair when it wasn't even that bad, to me, that's crazy, because it has to get to a point where it's so bad and so repetitive that, I mean, I don't know. For it to not be that bad and for her to go all of this way because of her reputation, I think is still delulu and cray-cray. But again, I'm just looking at it from a different perspective. I mean, Yeah, anyway, please don't come for me, guys. I'm just human and I feel things, okay? And I've been through it and I'm in the arena of life. Where we left off on Friday was the people from Jones Work staff were saying that like they have nothing to do with this. They've been trying to work with Blake. Blake's been harassing these people for documents with subpoenas, and then they were going to pay for a bunch of stuff, and then they were trying to figure out what documents that they should give them. And then while they were like, you know, conferring in good faith, Blake Lively's team just started ignoring them and ran to the court. That was the last thing where we left off. Well, since then, okay, I don't know what is going on with this James Vistuka guy, but he is all over these cases. He's also in the Jed Wallace and Blake Lively one, and as well as in the Jen Abel one, saying that like his lawyers are switching up. He got new lawyers and it's been approved that he can do a substitution of counsel. I don't know what's going on, but the counsel that he has right now allegedly are BFFs with Brian Friedman, I heard. So that's interesting. Of course, Blake Lively's people wanted to come back and write back to the judge a letter reply of why they want to subpoena the people from TAG. Oh my gosh, if I said Jones Works earlier. No, there are 2 employees from TAG, which is Melissa Nathan's thing. So they're asking that, like, hey, this is why. And then it is happening. We have a phone call that we all get to be a part of. So this is happening on June 24th. 2025 at 2 o'clock. This is going to be Tuesday at 2 p.m., guys. I will be phoning in to listen to what is going on here. But the public can listen, but this is only going to be from Blake Lively's team. So the judge really wants to get down to what is going on with these TAG employees, and they really want to hear from Blake Lively's team because, I don't know, it's interesting that he's filing this like not emergency meeting, but he's scheduling this meeting to hear these people out because I guess they just need to get down to the bottom of what's going on with these subpoenas, with these TAG employees. And then we have a motion to unseal. So Blake Lively has requested that they unseal some documents. It was granted. I still haven't been able to see those yet, so maybe it takes a little bit of time. And now, Brett Douglas McDowell, okay, we see you. We've been seeing you. If you don't know who Brett is and his wife, Aiko, please go and watch my videos. They are in the description below. They have been in the court dockets trying their best to get the discovery from Marvel to prove that Ryan Reynolds also did the same thing to them that he's now doing to Justin Baldoni. This is a pattern. He filed a motion for reconsideration of order denying the intervention. So he had already asked the judge to intervene to be able to get the discovery from Marvel while they are still there. And the judge said, no, you're not in this case. You're not even a third party in this case. And basically, like, I dismissed Ryan Reynolds' case. Therefore, Marvel has nothing to do with this. So no. But do you know what else Brett did? It's official. If you go up here, it is in the courts now. I'm going to find it real quick. He did put in a letter. So we went over this last week, but it wasn't like official yet in the court docket, but it sure is now. It is official, and it is a motion to intervene as well as a motion for recusal of Judge Lyman. It's very interesting. It's a big, bold move. And then again, you have Brett today, and he is now asking for reconsideration of order denying intervention. And I hope he gets it. I mean, he's fighting hard and he deserves to win. They need to get justice for what Ryan Reynolds has done to them, okay? I should be saying everything in this video is alleged because, you know, people are coming at me saying that I'm spreading misinformation, I'm being paid, I'm on Wayfair's list. Oh my gosh, so funny. So funny. And that was pretty much it when I looked at it, but now we have Leslie Sloan in here. Leslie, girl, ain't nobody got time for you. Today is Blake's day, deposition day, and here you are filing a motion for attorney fees and costs, a memorandum of law in support of attorney fees and costs, and a declaration of Leslie Sloan in support of attorney fees and costs. Girl, you got bank on bank on bank, okay? And in my opinion, and I believe the jury of In Frame, you started all of this with Stephanie motherfucking Jones. And you actually were doing the smear campaign against the Wayfair people. The Wayfair people were only defending themselves against you. You're nasty. You've been nasty. You're cruel. And now it's coming to light. And you get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a month by just one client, okay? And how do I know that? Because I know that Wayfair was paying Stephanie motherfucking Jones $30,000 a month. And if they're paying her $30,000 a month, and that's Wayfair and Justin Baldoni, what is Blake and Ryan paying you? Okay? You are messy, you are evil, you are cruel, and you are a nasty, nasty, nasty woman in PR, and I'm sure out of PR. And I hope you don't get nothing. Okay? So let's go over a few of these court rulings. Or, court things, dockets, motions, letters. Are you ready? First, what we're going to do is bag it up into Texas, y'all. We're in Texas, okay? Where Blake Lively has responded to Jed Wallace. This poor guy, Jed Wallace, he is going through it. Blake filed a letter motion to try to be able to submit more than 10 pages because I guess the maximum pages allowed are 10 pages. And, last time she did that, she ended up filing like over 1,000 pages. This time it's only 20. And man, this poor guy, Jed, but he's trying real hard. He's still fighting Blake Lively over there in Texas. And she filed a defendant's reply in support of motion to dismiss the amended complaint for lack of personal jurisdiction, improper venue, and failure to state a claim under the federal rules of civil procedure 12B, 12B, and 12B. Now, we ain't going to read the whole thing because it's 20 pages, but we are just going to read a few things that I thought were quite interesting. And Blake Lively and her lawyers in this one are very sassy. Like, they're quite cruel, I think, to Jed Wallace. Honestly, the tone is just, at a few places where I was reading, I was like, my gosh, gloves are off, that's their term that they like to use. But let's just read the opening here. And this is, again, in Texas for Jed Wallace. Well, let's see what it says here. Ms. Lively files this reply in support of her motion to dismiss the FAC motion or MOT, and in response in plaintiff's opposition to the same. Neither plaintiff's amendment nor their opposition can save their defamation claim against Ms. Lively. Despite rewriting their initial complaint and redesigning their original claims, plaintiffs still have failed to demonstrate that Texas is the appropriate venue or jurisdiction for their claims. It is not. Or that their defamation claim can survive their failure to meet basic pleading requirements and the multiple applicable privilege that bar it. As to venue, the first to rule demands dismissal in deference to the New York litigation, which involves identical facts, witnesses, and questions of law. By asserting a defamation claim against Ms. Lively based on statements made in her CRD complaint, plaintiffs have put directly at issue the truth of Ms. Lively's allegations, which are already subject to litigation in New York. Moreover, until June 9th, 2025, when the first filed court dismissed their defamation claim with prejudice, the New York Wayfair plaintiffs asserted a defamation claim based on the exact same legal theories as plaintiffs here. Even if they could overcome the first to rule, which they cannot, plaintiffs grasp at straws to establish venue and jurisdiction. The events giving rise to the alleged defamation occurred outside of Texas, and Ms. Lively's prior Rule 202 petition, which was never even served, cannot support either venue or personal jurisdiction over her. As for the merits, the FAC fails to state a claim as a matter of law, including because the statements at issue are protected by the same litigation and fair report privileges that the first filed court have already found doomed to the defamation claim of the New York Wayfair plaintiffs. Yeah, basically this whole thing is just saying like first to file, which I think Jed was already first to file against Blake, but because she filed the CRD complaint with the exact same information, they're trying to say that that's like the same thing. And there's a couple of interesting things that I'm just going to read here. The opposition ignores and therefore concedes that the New York litigation's now dismissed defamation claim is virtually identical to not only the defamation claim asserted here, but also that previously asserted in the California complaint. Then they go into the first to file, why the jurisdiction lacks jurisdiction. It's not the right jurisdiction. She blah, blah, blah. It shouldn't be in Texas. And I mean, she does make a lot of good points, but this is where I thought it was kind of interesting. Plaintiffs failed to sufficiently plead fault. Plaintiffs further failed to overcome that the FAC does not plead any facts demonstrating that Miss Lively should have known that the plaintiffs did not assist the Wayfair parties, Tag, Nathan, and Abel in their retaliatory efforts to bury her. Nor can they. The first filed court recently considered a similar allegation in the New York legislation, holding that there is no basis to infer anything other than that Miss Lively filed her complaint in that case based on her CRD complaint in good faith. Then plaintiffs have failed to sufficiently allege defamation, which I thought this whole thing was pretty interesting, the way she paints it. Like, plaintiff's defamation per se hinges on arguing that Miss Lively accuses plaintiffs of sexual harassment. But the CRD complaint speaks for itself, and it does not include any accusations that plaintiffs engaged in sexual harassment. What I think is so bananas, delulu, cray-cray, unhinged, insane, is she didn't, in her CRD complaint, say who's did what. They were all put in there together, including Jed Wallace's name. Sexual harassment, covering up sexual harassment, the smear campaign because she complained about said sexual harassment, and all of their names were in there. Well, Jed's saying, well, like, now you just lump me in as a sexual harasser. That's crazy. That's defamation. Blake's like, well, no, I only said your name 6 times, and you should know where I said it. But what is crazy in the hypocrisy of it all is literally Blake and Ryan, with all of their motions and filing, was like, oh, you didn't... they had all those motions to compel and all of this stuff. And they were saying, oh, because they didn't put, who did what, like they grouped us all in together. And it's like, you're doing the same thing. So you're okay to fight Jed in Texas and say like, oh, well, that's just the way it is. But then you're over here in New York crying. No. Okay, sweetheart. Plaintiffs claim that accusing Wallace of weaponizing a digital army harms him in his profession is not credible, since he has built a book of clients by doing just that to help his clients mitigate crisis. Indeed, plaintiffs' ability to weaponize a digital army and launch the type of social media campaign they did with respect to Miss Lively could be good for plaintiffs' business. She's wild for that. Wild for that. She's like, he's saying it's bad for business, but since he's such a snaky snake, since he did this to me and he did pretty good, I think it's good for business. That's just bitter. Okay, that's just so bitter. Wallace admits that the real harm to his profession is not what Miss Lively said, which he must prove to state a claim for defamation per se, but rather that his work for the Wayfair parties has lost its cloak of anonymity. Anonymity. Anonymous, okay? Anonymity. Then it's so crazy because everywhere she's going, she's just, what a piece of work. Because she filed the CRD complaint, it's privileged. Okay, you can't do nothing about it. She can say anything she wants in that CRD complaint. It could be all lies. And it is privileged, okay, under this new California law because of sexual harassment, which says right here, the sexual harassment privilege protects Miss Lively's statements. Plaintiffs argue that the sexual harassment privilege does not apply because Wallace has alleged actual malice, and that one statement that plaintiffs weaponized the digital army around the country from New York to Los Angeles to create, seed, and promote content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and internet chat forums out of many is not covered by that privilege. Plaintiffs ignore that the sexual harassment privilege protects statements about not only harassment and retaliation, but also aiding and abetting the same, including by executing a social combat plan. So they're saying it again, that basically he He knew that she was sexually harassed repeatedly on set and that he was going to cover it up for them. That's wild. When Jed Wallace is literally, I think now he's put out 2 affidavits saying what he did, and it was just to really monitor how social media, like what was going on social media. But this is going to get messy. Oh my gosh. I can't believe she just said that. That's wild. Further, plaintiffs do not adequately allege that Miss Lively made the statements even with negligence, let alone actual malice. Moreover, the broad immunity provided by the sexual harassment privilege covers that one statement because it is related to an incident of sexual assault, harassment, or discrimination, which is why it is included in the CRD complaint. Miss Lively respectfully requests that this court dismiss this case with prejudice and award her attorney fees and cost. Oh, boombastic eye roll. I do really think that Blake Lively knew what she was doing when she filed that CRD complaint and put in sexual harassment. I mean, what she really cared about, obviously was the smear campaign and obviously was her reputation tanking, okay? But people had already forgot about it. She would have been fine with when another simple favor came out. It would have been like, okay, you know? People aren't going to like you, sweetheart. But now it's just gotten way worse. And I don't think that she considered the things that were happening to her real, like, harassment until all of a sudden the smear campaign was going on. I don't know. I hope we get her deposition or something from her deposition today. We are going to look at now Brett Douglas McDowell. He wrote a letter to try to yet again intervene and get the discovery from Marvel. So he also did write, and it's a really good read. Maybe I'll do one video separate of the judge recusal that he wrote. But it is quite long just to put in here with like a video of everything. So maybe I'll do a separate video this week with just that information. Let me know if you want it or not. I'll probably still do it anyway, but let me know because there is a lot of information out there and it's going to be interesting to see what goes down now that that's officially in the court. I mean, it might just be stricken or removed. Who knows what Judge Lyman's going to do. But this is just a letter that he wrote, and we'll just read it now, okay? This is clarification regarding June 18th, 2025 filing, supplemental clarification in support of motion to intervene and motion for recusal. Dear Clerk of the Court, I am writing to respectfully submit a clarification regarding my June 18th, 2025 filing titled Supplemental Clarification in support of motion to intervene and motion for recusal. In the document, I stated that Judge Lyman's 2021 and 2023 annual financial disclosures explicitly reported ownership of Class B non-voting shares in Lionsgate Entertainment with no indication of divestment. Upon further review, I acknowledge that this was incorrect. While Lionsgate shares were disclosed in Judge Lyman's 2020 annual financial disclosure, they do not appear in the disclosures for 2021 to 2023. My assertions was based on the absence of any recorded divestment in subsequent filings, including the May 14th, 2024 periodic transaction report. However, it was an error to characterize the 2021-2023 disclosures as containing an explicit report of Lionsgate Holdings. I respectfully ask the court to consider this clarification part for the record, and I apologize for the misstatement. The correction is submitted in good faith and does not alter the overall basis of my recusal and intervention motion, which emphasized the continued appearance of partiality under 28 USC. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Man, that is so nice. Like, you realize that you made a mistake, you misspoke, and then you're just like, hey, check it out. This was actually what happened, you know? That's good. This is the reply from Blake Lively to the tag employees that has the judge being like, whoa, let's meet on Tuesday. I got to hear from Blake's people because what is going on? This is the reply. We already went over the lady's reply on Friday, but this is the reply from Blake Lively that made the judge be like, nah, we need a telephone conference ASAP. Miss Lively submits this reply in further support of her motion to compel Miss Catherine Case and Miss Brianna Butler Coslow to comply with the subpoenas issued to them in early March. In their opposition, Miss Case and Miss Coslow primarily contend that the court should find the subpoenas unenforceable in light of Miss Lively's earlier extensive efforts to mutually resolve the parties' dispute as to the subpoenas. So what the ladies were kind of saying is like, we were going back and forth and back and forth. Blake Lively's team offered to pay for things. They offered to pay for the investigations. They offered to pay for the extraction of the messages, et cetera, et cetera. And as we were conferring back and forth, all of a sudden they just stopped and they ran to the court to compel us. But we were already conferring in good faith. So they were kind of taken off guard is what they're saying. But Ms. Lively's good faith attempts to narrow certain requests and to bear certain costs were not concessions. Rather, they were attempts to achieve an agreement that would result in Ms. Case and Ms. Coslow's compliance with the subpoenas. Because the agreement was never reached, their compliance with the initially served subpoenas, which reasonably seek highly relevant information, should be compelled. So she's kind of saying like, hey, we ain't paying for nothing no more. We're not, they were kind of narrowing the scope because at first they asked for like all communications, et cetera, et cetera. And they kept like, they were going back and forth to see exactly what they were looking for and narrowing it. And now Blake is kind of like, because we were going through this with you since March, you still didn't come to an agreement. Now we want the original subpoena served and we want all the documents and we ain't paying for nothing. That's what I get from it, which is kind of hilarious, but I mean, it's a tough battle out there. As the outset, the suggestion that Miss Case and Miss Coslow were but party employees, an attempt to minimize their involvement in this case, cannot be squared with reality. I just think it's so funny when I hear Blake Lively's team talk about people who aren't in reality because like, what? What? But that is actually a good line, Minimize their involvement in this case cannot be squared with reality. As previously stated and contrary to the opposition, these individuals' communications feature prominently in the operative complaint, with non-party names redacted for privacy. Yeah, because I hadn't seen any of those names either, but when you look back at all the text messages, they don't have a lot of people's names. And I think these girls should be worried because Blake Lively is about to sue you next if you were involved. Why isn't everyone being sued? Why isn't Stephanie Jones being sued, Blake? She ran Jones Works. The same Jones Works that was involved. It's fishy, bro. It's weird that you picked and chose who to sue, but just be careful out there when you come against Blake Lively, okay? Because she's not playing about these lawsuits. She'll sue anyone for talking about smack about her. I should be careful. All alleged, of course, All alleged. Let's just go over. So yeah, they are included in a lot of the text, but the names were redacted. So their participation in the retaliatory digital effort in an email from Abel to Case, Coslow, Heath, and Nathan discussing whether tags feeds include social media mitigation and proactive fan posting to counter the narrative. In a text from Case to Matthew Mitchell, who she's been trying to subpoena, this Matthew Mitchell, Nathan and Abel regarding contents of HR complaints from Set. In a text from Abel to Mitchell, Nathan, Case, and Coslow discussing the need to position reported upon HR complaints. And in a text from Abel to Mitchell, Nathan, Case, and Coslow discussing an allegation that Baldoni invited a woman up to his hotel room years ago. Scandal. And a text from Coslow in a response suggesting to chat to Jed as well on this. The subpoenas seek and are highly likely to yield additional relevant information of this nature. The fact that Miss Case and Miss Coslow's indisputably relevant communications, which are known, not speculated, to exist, have not appeared in the Wayfarer Party's productions even barely a week out from the party's deadline for substantial completion of documents production only underscores the necessity of receiving these materials from Miss Case and Miss Coslow directly. So they have until July 1st. That's when all of this discovery, everything's supposed to be done, documents on both sides. July 1st is the deadline to have this kind of discovery done. Then they're going to go back and forth on the 3 points that the ladies say that Blake isn't doing or whatever, okay? Their opposition makes 3 arguments in an attempt to avoid production to the subpoenas. First, Ms. Lively's extensively engaged in good faith with respect to the subpoenas, and there is no reasonable basis to assert otherwise. Ms. Lively's repeated good faith overtures and exchanges are plain from the parties' correspondence, nor can it be contended that Ms. Case and Ms. Coslow's lacked notice that the instant motion to compel was forthcoming, as Ms. Lively's counsel made clear on May 30th that she would soon need to move ahead to compel production of documents under the subpoenas that were served months ago. Ms. Lively's objection to meet and confer in good faith had long and repeatedly been satisfied. It was apparent that further efforts to engage would be futile, and a motion to compel was the clear path forward. Second, Ms. Case and Ms. Coslow have failed to carry their burden to demonstrate why or how the subpoenas are unduly burdensome. Ms. Case and Ms. Coslow do not appear to meaningfully dispute the relevance, and they do not identify any particular request or provided foundation or reasoning for the assertion that the subpoenas are neither narrowly tailored nor proportionate. Third, the subpoena request should not be limited to the retroactive agreement that Ms. Case and Ms. Coslow attempted to engineer. Counsel's correspondence plainly shows that the parties never reached an agreement. Therefore, this is where Blake is saying, like, we tried, I was doing my best, I was going to pay, I was going to do this, I was going to do that, but because we didn't reach an agreement, we're going back. They're on their own, and they need to produce these documents. And then she quotes some things from the emails that they've never reached an agreement. Ms. Lively's earlier proposed modifications to the subpoena request, first addressed months ago, were intended to facilitate timely third-party productions that could have been used in connection with unfolding party discovery, while allowing time for Ms. Lively to evaluate productions from the Wayfarer parties and then revisit certain requests with Ms. Case and Ms. Coslow. As evidenced by the months that have passed, the necessity of the instant motion and the fact that the Wayfarer parties still have not made significant productions, or indeed any production reflecting Ms. Case or Ms. Coslow. At present, Ms. Case and Ms. Coslow's compliance with the subpoena will take place at earliest, essentially in tandem with the majority of the Wayfarer parties' documents production. Oh my gosh, boo-hoo, your plan didn't work? Oh my gosh, what's so wild is allegedly you haven't given anything to the Wayfarer people either. Nada, zilch, zero. Not even your text from your best friend Taylor Swift. I know that's right. The court should reject the allegations that Ms. Lively failed to satisfy her conferral obligations and should order enforcement of the subpoenas at issue. It's going to be interesting to see what the judge has to say, why he wants in a phone conference, but I'll be there. That's tomorrow. And yes, now Leslie Sloan is asking for all of her lawyer's fees and costs to be paid. We'll go over that, but it was like over 30 pages for sake of time for this video. It will be a separate video, okay? So yeah, and now they did also, Blake Lively's team was able to serve Matthew Mitchell, who was also an employee of Jones Works, I believe, and they served him through LinkedIn Messenger and social media. They have been trying to reach this boy for so long. He was ignoring them, and Judge Lyman last week granted Blake Lively to be able to serve him through alternate means, and then that means like LinkedIn and social media and stuff, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, read the Leslie Sloan thing, probably be very frustrated while pouring a glass of bubbly, but you know, it is what it is, because I think her and Stephanie Jones definitely are part of this, and I think we're here because of them, because of the PR war. Leslie Sloan was playing, if not a dirtier game than the Wayfarer parties. So I think that is just crazy. Like, they were defending themselves against Leslie Sloan. She was getting headlines changed, and she was running to the Daily Mail, and she was breaking good faith, you know, trust that they had, and they made deals between each other, and she was the one that was like blabbing, right? Which the way the Lively parties are still doing. They're running to people. They're running to Daily Mail. They're going on CNN. They're doing TMZ. It's like, it's just so nuts. It's just so nuts. And then they say that like the Wayfarer people are using the media, and it's like, what, girl? Are you serious? And there's actually a video that disproves this whole smear campaign in a way, because it proves that the internet people already hated Blake Lively. They already weren't effing with her in pre-production when she was cast. This is a video that I think completely disproves any kind of smear campaign done by the Wayfair people. In my opinion, this speaks volumes, saying that this was in 2023 when she was just cast. And this is coming from Colleen Hoover.
The cohorts, cohos, they have multiple names, are wildly passionate about what you write, including having a lot of opinions about, what movie. Blake Lively's wearing, or Blake Lively. Right. Did that surprise you?
It does. It really does. Just because, you know, like I was hoping, you know, when we announced the movie that people would be excited about it. Didn't think that it would, you know, spawn all these TikToks about it, and that people would be so passionate and angry about, you know, some of the casting choices, some of the outfit choices. But, you know, it's like when I wrote the book, it wasn't about the age of the characters. It wasn't about what they were wearing. I don't even think I described any clothing in the book. It was about the message that I wanted to get across. And I think the people that are doing the movie are doing such a good job. The actors are doing a phenomenal job. And, you know, like the aging up of the characters was my fault. You know, as an author, we make mistakes. And when I was writing the book, New Adult was really popular. And New Adult is college-age characters, and that was what I was contracted to write. And so when I was writing it as with us, I'm like, okay, so Lily needs to be like 24, so I don't want Raul to be too much older. He's a neurosurgeon. There's no 28-year-old neurosurgeons. You know, you go to school for 15 years. And so to make corrections to what I messed up in the book, we aged the characters up somewhat. And yeah, you've seen a few outfits that Lily has worn, but she looks so phenomenal on screen. And some of the outfits that she's worn indoors that no one's gotten pictures of yet are phenomenal. So I love that there's discourse surrounding it. You know, I do. I think that people are going to be very pleased. I am very pleased.
But anyway, don't come at me for what I said. I'm not defending Blake. I'm just saying, like, that statement just doesn't, I'm not getting what y'all got from it, or what a lot of people got from it, that because it wasn't that bad that she doesn't have a case and this proves her case, or disproves her case, I should say. When you go through a bunch of things, a lot of things, you tend to rank them, and some are bad and some aren't bad. Do I think that this happened? No. Do I think that she's blowing a lot of things out of proportion? Yes. Do I think that she has any proof? No. Do I think that this is all because she couldn't take that people didn't like her? Yes. I don't believe her because I read all of the documents, because I've been here since day one, because I've looked at all of the evidence thus far. But it's not good that she was talking to Megan Twohey, whether it was on or off the record. I wonder what else was said in that conversation. It looks really bad for Ryan Reynolds if it wasn't that bad. But then if it wasn't that bad, what are we doing here? But then also, even if it wasn't as bad as she hasn't experienced before, that doesn't mean that it was okay. But also, what wasn't okay? Because I've yet to see any proof that anything even bad happened. I mean, what she was stating was like perfectly things that happen on set. Like, I'm just really confused. But hopefully once we get their deposition and we get today, by end of today, the Wayfair party's new amended complaint, there'll be a little bit more information in there for all of us to, you know, go over. And yeah, we'll see. That is it. And wow, when I said at the beginning of the video that I have had a day, I had a day, okay? So, first of all, I go to do a workout today. I'm like, I'm going to smash a leg day, right? I'm working out, and I have like a little mini gym, like kind of in my condo. So I'm working out, and my music goes off, like on the TV. And I'm like, what the heck? And then all of a sudden I realize the AC is not on. And I'm like, what the heck? And it is blistering outside, okay? It's like 45 degrees with humidity. You can't do nothing. It's hot. So then I realized the power's off. So I'm like, the power's off in a heat strike? Or like in a heat thing? So I was like, okay. So I still do my workout. But I would have literally like called a friend and been like, can you come pick me up and bring me to yours? Because I don't got any power. But I'm dog sitting. So I'm watching this dog. So I'm like, okay, well, now I got to take this dog out. And thank gosh I only live on the 7th floor, because walking her down was fine. But then once we were outside in that heat and then having to come back up, oh my gosh. And after doing a leg day, so I think she struggled a lot more than I did, honestly, which kind of felt good. But then I'm sitting in my house, can't do nothing, no internet, can't, like, nothing. You're right? Like, no power. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm like, you know what? Let me just, like, use this time to go enjoy the outside, get some sun, do whatever. I'm like, I'm going to go to the grocery store, get me a little coots, get me a little something for lunch, and then pack up a little picnic, and then go out to the park, you know, be out there for an hour, 2 hours, and have a little nice lunch, quiet lunch outside. Probably like in the heat, but it was fine. I put like a bathing suit on, and then my shorts and t-shirts. Then I get everything packed up. I got my little blankie. I got a bottle of water, my little chappy, you know, and I go to the grocery store, and it's closed. That whole building, no power. So I'm like, what the heck? So I'm like, okay, well, let me go up to the grocery store a few blocks down. I go up to that grocery store, no power. Everything's closed. Everything was closed. The entire midtown Toronto, no power. And now I'm just like, outside, like, what do I do? Then I kept walking, and then I found like a little pizza. They must have a generator or something. So I got a couple of slices of pizza, and I was like, okay, whatever. Let me go down by the pool area in my building. And I walk around the building. And at this point, I'm just like buckets, you know, buckets. I get down by the pool area and I go to fob. Obviously, the fobs don't work because the power's out. So I'm like, oh my gosh, then I have to walk all the way. By the time I got on the other side of the building, I was mad. I was like, I'm over it. Walked all the way back up. Ate my pizza and took a nap, and I was so bitter. I was just like, all I wanted to do was have a lunch in the park, you know, like use this time. But anyway, when I woke up from my nap, the power was on. Everything's fine. I mean, oh, whatever. But yeah, it was just like, what a day. Like my whole afternoon was shot. I'm so behind now because I couldn't really do anything. And then even the thing that I wanted to do and was going to like enjoy doing, I couldn't even do. And my phone had like very little power on it. So it was like, it's really crazy how much you rely on, honestly, on power, electricity, and all of that stuff. Because, like, wow, it was only like 4 hours. But, gosh, it was getting so hot in here. And it was like, oh, I couldn't do anything. I was pretty miserable. And I was just like, this was not my day, because I always take Sundays off. Like, Sunday is like my day to like go to church and hang out, clean, do whatever, or go garden and like hang out. You know, Sunday is just, I always take one day a week that's just for me, you know, and no filming, no recording, no editing. Like, it is my day to just be a human, like be a human being, instead of like having to be a human doer. And so today I was like, ready to go. You know, it's Monday. It's my favorite day. It's the day where we get to like get ready for the week. We're in it. First day, let's go. And my whole day kind of just got shot to heck. You know, it was like, But anyway, that was my day. But I hope y'all are having a good day. I will be back with the Leslie Sloan update, see what she's trying to say. And of course, as soon as we get the amended complaints from the Wayfair parties, I will be here. I will be here, girl. Anyway, drop your comments. Let me know what y'all are thinking. I think this is about to get real messy because the deadline, again, for all production and stuff is July 1st. So within a week, everyone should have all of the stuff. I don't know. But also tomorrow, 2 o'clock, there is that phone-in conference. So I'll let you know what happens there. And yeah, stay cool. Take care of yourself. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Love you. Bye.